All right, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. We'll begin with the IMF, and the International Monetary Fund has welcomed the new government's intention to conduct a full audit into the undisclosed 7 billion cedi arrears left by the previous government. The IMF, in a statement today, said, quote, significant public spending commitments that bypassed public finance management systems were reported. We welcome the new government's intentions to conduct a full audit of outstanding obligations, its commitment to transparency, and its readiness to take strong remedial actions to ensure the integrity of the public finance management systems going forward. Now, the IMF team has been in the country for the last 4 days to take stock of the 2016 economic developments and the outlook for 2017, and also engage the new government on its economic plans and discuss prospects for program engagement. The statement at the end of the visit said the new government has expressed its intent to continue with the current program with the IMF. Meanwhile, the IMF says the large fiscal slippages observed last year will require strong efforts of fiscal consolidation from the present government to support sustainability. It said the new government's intentions to reduce tax exemptions, improve tax compliance, and review the widespread earmarking of revenue should also help. In this regard, it advised the large financial imbalances of state enterprises in the energy sector should be addressed with urgency to avoid the buildup of contingent liabilities for the current government. Now, meanwhile, funding for some donor projects in Ghana could soon suffer some setbacks. That's the concern of some of the country's donors following revelations that some 7 billion cedis in contract arrears were not disclosed by the previous administration. My colleague George Afe assesses the potential impact on the economy.
Donor partners in the past were worried about the overruns that every time occur every year, where government ends up spending far more than they've been able to raise in revenue. So they thought about this whole thing they called the gift mix project, trying to automate the entire government machinery. You can talk about the financial management bit, which is dealt by the Controller and Accountant General. You can talk about the budget process, which is under the Ministry of Finance, and then the human resource bit, which is under the Public Services Commission. So the plan was to automate all these things so that we can track money that goes out of government and that one also comes in. But you saw what has happened in last year, 2016, where we are hearing the deficit could be twin or above the 10%, public debt reaching 124 billion Ghana cedis. And what these partners are worried about is that, listen, we've sunk in a lot of money into this project to help address this concern. So if indeed some payments were channeled outside the system, then should we go ahead pumping in money into this country for such project because of how those who were managing that space at that time failed to use the gift mix structure in terms of government accounts and all those things. And that is why they are saying that, listen, going forward, we might have to scale back some support if we are not assured that government or whoever is managing the economy is going to make things work.
In other business news tonight, Brazil has positioned itself to strengthen business ties with Ghana. This, according to the Brazilian ambassador, Lodna Aguirre, is part of measures by the new government to assist developing countries in identifying business potentials. According to the ambassador, the areas of agriculture and construction will be the major focus.
I'm very happy to know that the new government, President Nana Akufo-Addo's government, aims at is business-oriented, wants to bring businesses more alive in the country. Second, as my predecessor reminded, this strengthening of relations between Brazil and Ghana, it started in the early 2000s. In 2005, when President Lula came here, President Kufuor and Lula, it started this strengthening of relationship. So now, as we can say, we are harvesting, if I may say that in English, the fruits of what was started before, when the actual president was a former Minister of Foreign Relations and Regional Integration. So all this comes together. I mean, we started this more than a decade ago, And now we have more and more businesses coming, and not only construction companies, but we have also companies in the agri business.
So tell us some of them and the things that they've been doing in Ghana.
Well, we have those companies around the country, not only in Accra, but also in Kumasi. One thing that's very important, I mean, the central market of Kumasi is being built by a Brazilian company, a contractor. It will be beautiful. I hope you'll soon be able to watch that. But we also have a rice farm in the Volta region, which is Brazilian, and we have a cashew nut processing company also in Pram. So the idea is to foster other Brazilian companies to come to Ghana. We have also projects of selling equipments, agricultural equipment to Ghana. And I had the chance to accompany my predecessor with the Minister of Agriculture, Minister Akoto, and learn a bit of his program, Food and Jobs. And the idea is that we try to contribute to this idea of fostering jobs and food in the agricultural sector here in Ghana.
Now, the Association of Jamestown Fishermen in Accra says it is confident the minister-designate in charge of fisheries, Elizabeth Afole-Korte, is best fit to tackle the menace of light fishing. The minister-designate revealed that she would engage the fisher folk to arrest perpetrators of light fishing on the shores of Ghana. Charles Aite has more in this report.
Here at the Jamestown beach, as you can see, the fisher folk here are patching their nets for a huge catch ahead of the close of the week. But one thing that stands tall in their minds as they patch their sea nets happens to do with the specific challenges facing their businesses, issues related to the illegal light fishing and also matters related to the high costs of premixed fuel. The Jamestown Fishing Beach is by far the largest fishing harbor in the central business district of Accra. Peter has been in the fishing business for close to 50 years. According to him, the issue of light fishing remains one of the menaces facing the sector.
In the olden days, fishermen didn't use any illegal things like carbide and other illegal things that are now using. It wasn't like that. And because of that, the fish used to come. Even we didn't use enough petrol because immediately from here to about 25 or 20 yards, you make plenty catch. But nowadays, we are suffering.
Fisher folk like Kweku Buenin tells me his colleagues are expecting the incoming minister to implement policies to make the sector much more competitive. He says artisanal fishermen are looking forward to be more competitive like industrial trawlers. Meanwhile, the executive secretary of the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council, Ni Abil Chirekwanda, feels the sector has been abandoned by previous administrations. The elevation of light fishing by the ministry, according to him, is by far overdue.
The fishing industry as a whole is actually encountering myriads of problems. And it's high time that something actually positive was done about them. Now, I think I saw the minister coming out very strongly to articulate her objectives and some of the things she actually intends to do with a view to pushing the industry forward. And talking about the involvement of fishermen in the assisting the enforcement units to arrest recalcitrant fishermen who might want to flout the regulations and then continue with these destructive activities, fishing activities. I want to say that it's long overdue. It's something we had actually brought to the knowledge of some of the past governments that if we wanted to do effective surveillance, the fishermen must have a role to play in it.
For Joy Business, Charles Aite reporting.
Well, moving on, small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, are predominantly locally owned businesses, which also create about 90% of the jobs in the manufacturing sector. These local enterprises, however, generally lack the ability to expand. So how best can this be addressed? The CEO of West Point Consulting, Mario Klu, explained this and called for investment in sales infrastructure when he spoke to Inshirado on the Executive Lounge.
When it comes to SMEs, it's quite tricky. But my advice is that the first person who has to learn how to sell is the business owner. And usually, business owners believe and think wrongly that they need to get somebody to sell for them. But then the business owner, especially small, medium enterprise, you actually need to sell because you cannot afford the cost of recruiting salespeople. Build a sales-oriented infrastructure, starting with you. And based on what you have learned and based on what you've been able to do, you can scale up. You need the infrastructure and you need to be able to set it up so that thinking that, well, the guy has a marketing qualification and therefore can solve your problems. No, far from it. Fact is that very little sales is actually included in the curriculum of many of the people who leave business school. So that tells you why the bias is towards marketing. So for SMEs, they need to create a sales system that works for them.
The full interview airs tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's Executive Lounge on this same channel. My name is Daryl Kalabit. For Business, the news continues after this break.